This is how we ride. This is how we do.
Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and today we are going to be talking about a bunch of things, and this high roller roster could potentially be the greatest roster on dirt, and we're going to go and look down. I know that's hey, Donnie. Hey, Outlaw guys, I know this is hard to believe, or maybe you may feel betrayed because I'm saying this, but we're going to go down the roster today of the drivers that are committed to the High Limit Series and the drivers who are committed to the World Outlaw Series. And I'll tell you what, the High Limit Series has a case to be made that our roster of drivers overall is more competitive, more strong than y'all over there at the World Outlaw Series. And honestly, it's damn impressive. Let's look at the roster that they have out right here. This is a very impressive roster. But how does it do toe-to-toe against the World Outlaws? So, let's just start off here on the bottom row. Spencer Baston, who is as good or equivalent to Spencer Baston on this list. Spencer Baston obviously can win. He runs fast. He's consistent. He's sitting 8th in the points. No wins on the year, 2 top 5s. And looking at the high limit lineup, I'm going to look right here at Brian Brown. 7 starts, 2 top 5s for Brian Brown this year in the World Outlaw Sprint Car Series, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. That's very impressive for Brian Brown, who's been traditionally talked as, not really a traveler and all that. Well, they ain't raced at Knoxville this year. He's got 2 top 5s in 7 races. Just like Spencer Baston. So Spencer Baston, here on this list, you are equivalent to Brian Brown on the high limit roller list. Let me write this down. I'm going to write down a list here. I'm going to do the comparison here. We got Spencer Baston, Brian Brown. All right, so that's where we're at. Spencer Baston is Brian Brown. Now, Sheldon Hodenschild. Hold on, let me write him down. Sheldon Hodenschild, you know what it is. So, look at the series point standing. Just see what he's doing. He's got 10 starts and 2 top 5s. Just like Spencer Baston. He's got 7 top 10s, though. 7 top 10s. Obviously, it's hard to compare some of these guys because they haven't run the Outlaws all year long. I think that's a fair trade for Brian Brown for Spencer Baston. That's equivalent. Some people would argue that Brian Brown's better than Spencer Baston. That could be a very smooth argument. I mean, Spencer Baston for Corey Eliason would be a fair trade. But now we're on to Sheldon Hodenschild, and that's a hard driver to replace on this list that we got here. You got to think about somebody who's wild, on the edge, risking it. But I'm going to say you could put Rico Abreu as comparable to Sheldon Hodenschild. So we're going to put him here. Rico Abreu for Sheldon Hodenschild. So we got Spencer Baston and Sheldon Hodenschild out of the way. All right, let's continue here. Robbie Price, all right? Robbie Price, good regional driver. Hasn't really shined on the national scene. Some potential, little potential, a lot of potential. Who knows? We don't really know. Who's comparable to Robbie S. Price? Robbie S. Price. And I don't even know if S is his middle name, but it sounds cool. Robbie S. Price. Johnny Gibson, listen to me. But just a regional guy who can shine, but is, you never know. And I'm going to say, for Robbie Price, you could put Blake Hahn. I'll put Blake Hahn and Robbie Price in the same category. I think for Robbie Price, you could say Blake Hahn, and I would put Blake Hahn's potential possibly a little higher because he did do a lot more on the 360 level of racing. So Robbie Price for Blake Hahn. I think that's a fair trade. Now we're moving into this next row, and we got some hitters. We got some hitters here. James McFadden, who's picked up wins this year. James McFadden, though. I'm going to say Aaron Reitzel. I know that sounds a little weird because he is in the car that Aaron Reitzel was piloting and was doing just as well in. Who knows what would have happened? Roth obviously thought so. So Aaron Reitzel for James McFadden. I think that's a fair trade. Fair trade right there. And now we move over into Casey Kane. Now, it's hard to compare ex-NASCAR drivers as far as skill and ability. But we can talk about those who have been around in the sport, ran kind of mid-ish pack, has some success, just a little bit, maybe a win here, a win there. flashes of greatness. I would say Alex Bowman for comical purposes, but Alex Bowman, you are not the sprint car driver that Casey Kane is, at least not yet. But I do think that you could compare Casey Kane to Bill Baylog. I will trade Casey Kane for Bill Baylog every day of the week. I think they're about equatable in skill. I think Bill Baylog has a lot of regional success. You can't say that for Kane, really. And Baylog can knock a lap off very quickly like Kane, can perform well in a heat race like Kane. In the main events, he's hit and miss. Bill Baylog has a World of Outlaw victory, guys. He has a World of Outlaw victory. All right, now we're moving over into Logan Schuchart territory, and I know we're messing with PA fans and people, and this is a touchy subject. PA fans and people with Logan Schuchart. This is the heart child of the scenario. Now, when we're looking at Logan Schuchart, who has won big-time World of Outlaw events and has competed at some of the highest levels, we're looking at a lot of speed here with Logan Schuchart, a lot of consistency. Who is a Logan Schuchart-esque talent? And I'll tell you what, I think I'm going to take this guy off the board, and I feel like I'm going to regret it later. I'm going to say Tyler Courtney for Logan Schuchart. It is an equatable threat on a week-in, week-out basis. Obviously, Tyler Courtney with the Kings Royal win, a very big marquee event, a lot of regional success, all-star champion. I'm going to say Tyler Courtney for Logan Schuchart is a fair trade on that. That's a hitter off the board for the high roller roster there, but it's also a very heavy hitter off the board for the World of Outlaw Sprint Car Series. All right, now we're over here to Noah Gass. Noah Gass. Oh, boy, got to write this one down. Not really, let's be fair. He hasn't really performed how some people would like. Maybe he needs some years behind the wheel. But Noah Gass, I think we could compare him to a Hunter Schurenberg. Let's do Hunter Schurenberg there. And if Noah Gass went to the All-Star Circuit of Champions full time, I think you would see him be just as fast as a Hunter Schurenberg. But he's racing the World of Outlaws week in and week out. But he can be quick. He can show flashes of greatness, just like Hunter Schurenberg can. I think that's a respectful one in, one out Noah Gass for Hunter Schurenberg. All right, so let's go up to this level. Now we are getting into the nitty-damn-gritty. We got Jacob Allen, the Shark Racing team, the last name, the beautiful face, the amazing cadence in every interview that we see him, the heart, the soul that this guy puts out. Jacob Allen, who on this list would replace a Jacob Allen or is comparable to a Jacob Allen? He has won World Outlaw races. He has done that. He did it at Lincoln in front of the home crowd. So we got to pick somebody on this list who has at least won a World of Outlaw event and always fares well when the World of Outlaws are in or around town. And I think we got to put some respect on his name. I think we got to take a hitter off the board here for the high limit rollers. I think we have to take Danny Dietrich off the list for Jacob Allen. Now, some people may be like, well, Danny Dietrich's extremely better than Jacob Allen. Oh, my God, how could you do that? Hey, Danny Dietrich's been hit or miss, guys. I want to put some respect on Jacob Allen's name. I want to put some respect on it. So Danny Dietrich for Jacob Allen, I don't see any problem with that. I think that's respectful on both sides of the aisle. Giovanni Selzi, hot sauce, the West Coast, the action, the flash of Giovanni Selzi. Of course, so much success in the World of Outlaws in the 71 race parts car. And that 71 race parts car that he was so good in is being piloted by Corey Eliason. But he has not had the success of Giovanni Selzi. And I want to say Polycolli Giovanni and Giovanni Selzi in the same sentence, so I want to pit Polycolli Giovanni and broccoli and lettuce and salads and all that. It sounds so good. It sounds like an amazing salad that all racetracks should offer. But I don't think the resume matches up with Polycolli Giovanni and Giovanni Selzi, although I do want to say that. And in fact, You know what? Potential is what Giovanni Selzi is right now. And I think if Poly Giovanni had the same opportunities as Giovanni Selzi, he would be just as damn good, if not better, than Giovanni Selzi. So I'm making the call. We're making the damn call. Giovanni Selzi for Poly Giovanni. And that's what the bottom damn line, because the Chaz said so. Giovanni, or how do you spell this? Giovanni Selzi for Poly Giovanni. I am saying not only just speech or lyrically, but in opportunity and talent, Poly Giovanni and Giovanni Selzi are equivalent, especially when we are talking about projection, and that is what, I mean, Giovanni Selzi has some very badass resume, but he did have a lot of opportunities. That 71 car, that Indy Race Parts car, is a superstar car. That car has put so many people to the front of the line. It's like a porn star in Vegas. You're up front. Go right in, lady. Go right in. That car does a lot. Giovanni Selzi, a hell of a talent, but I also believe that Poly Giovanni is a hell of a talent as well. He just hasn't had the opportunities. He has had flashes of success, but he ain't driving the damn 71 Indy Race Parts car. So, that's probably going to be my most outlandish pick right there, or trade, is Poly Giovanni for Giovanni Selzi, but it is so beautiful I had to make it. Poly Giovanni and Giovanni Selzi. I cannot believe how that just went. We got to mix it all up. We got the red, we got the orange, we got some red peppers, some onions, some croutons. We got a hell of a salad here. Hell of a salad. All right, moving on to the next. Donnie Shots. How do you replace Donnie Shots? How are you replacing this guy? I feel like this is something that keeps Brian Carter up late at night. It's a hard thing. The success, the ability, the bringing forward in the Knoxville Nationals, the championships, the demeanor in the pitting area, the respect across the board. How do you replace Donnie Shots? You almost have to throw out history. And you have to think about a good old song called What Have You Done For Me Lately? Although he's won the Knoxville Nationals and probably could contend for a championship this year. But has had motor problems. This is going to be hard. I'm going to have to pull a hitter off the board. We have a few hitters here left. We have Brent Marks left. We have Kyle Larson left. I'm thinking the only guy that we could truly pull off the board and replace Donnie Shots with, and maybe the Outlaws is thinking about this, after what we've seen this year, and I'm going to, if we were only going off this year's performances, you'd be like, wow, Chaz, that's a horrible trade there, because Shots hasn't performed like this guy at all. But I'm respecting the legacy of Donnie Shots in this trade, and I'm going to say you could trade Donnie Shots for one Michael Buddy Kofoid. And the projection and the height of Buddy Kofoid right now, just in the racing world in general, is very, very high. But Donnie Shots has done so much. I mean, Buddy Kofoid is higher in the point standings right now than Donnie Shots. He's had more top 10s. He's had a win. He's got more top 5s. He has ran every single race. It is hard to think of replacing a Donnie Shots. If you're going to give anyone, you can't replace him with the same resume, but you can replace him with some potential, with some results as well. And that's what Michael Buddy Kofoid does have this year for sure. So I'm going to say Kofoid for Shots. Okay, and now we have moved over to possibly one of the hardest things to pick. And that's with this guy who for some reason is me mugging the camera. He looks so much prettier when he smiles, and he could play the pretty boy role so much, but he wants to be the short, mad guy. I don't get it. Maybe he is a part of the 5 families in New York. We just don't know it. Connecticut, Yale, Skulls and Bones. This is a potentiality for reality, but David Gravel obviously is in the clique, and he's in the plan. So there's only one guy on the damn list we can replace David Gravel with, and that is the one and only Kyle Larson. So David Gravel for Kyle Larson. That's a fair trade. I think that's a fair... David, there ain't no way that's disrespectful to David. The Kyle Larson fans are going to feel that's disrespectful to them. They're going to be so pissed off that I can even put David Gravel and Kyle Larson in the same category. Although David Gravel traditionally used to be the Sammy Swindell, Steve Kinzer icon of sprint car racing, but this thing called co-trickle syndrome came along, and now the superstar of sprint car racing is a NASCAR driver from dirt, and that is Kyle Larson. So those people who are caught up in that transcendence kind of mental manipulations of NASCAR and Hollywood, it's disrespectful to say David Gravel and Kyle Larson are equivalent, but to those who have reasonable sense, to those who understand to be one of the best World Outlaw sprint car drivers, you are just as good, if not better, than a Kyle Larson in the talent department, and you ain't in NASCAR because you weren't 16 years old with a $10 to $15 million investor from some old man in a dark room that wants to take you back and say, how much do you want this? That's the difference between a David Gravel and a Kyle Larson to me. So, David Gravel for Kyle Larson, top of the game for both of them. Who's better? I don't know. I would say David Gravel's better, but that's just because I understand that David Gravel hasn't had the same opportunities as a Kyle Larson, and that's the difference between the two, and that's about it. So David Gravel for Kyle Larson, I believe, is a fair trade in today's state of being. We got a pretty good list here, ladies and gentlemen, so far. We got a pretty damn good list, and somewhere mad at the Paulie Collie Giovanni, hell, replace that with Justin Sanders. Same damn thing. Same damn thing. In fact, Paulie Collie Giovanni, I didn't mean to be mean to you, Collie Giovanni, whatever. I think that you could replace Giovanni Selzi with Justin Sanders because the story I just told with David Gravel and Kyle Larson is the same damn story I just told for Giovanni Selzi and Justin Sanders. Justin Sanders is just as damn good, if not better, than Paulie Collie Giovanni Selzi, but Justin Sanders didn't get the same opportunities as Giovanni Selzi did. Just as David Gravel didn't get the same opportunities as Kyle Larson did. These are the same entities, and I have changed on my list Giovanni Selzi for Justin Sanders because those are the same damn people with two different schedules of opportunity, and David Gravel and Kyle Larson are the same damn thing. So there you go. Broccoli and lettuce, that shit. All right, back to the roster here because we still have some heavy hitters up here. We sure as hell do. Carson Macedo in one of the fastest race cars the world has ever seen. The 41, crew chief by Phil Dietz, one of the best crew chiefs to ever live, in my opinion. He is the modern-day Carl Kinzer, in my opinion. Nobody's putting a car around the track as fast as he does, no matter who's behind the wheel, than Phil Dietz. This 41 car didn't miss a step between Macedo and Gravel. Now, we still have some hitters on the board that some could say are just as good, if not better, than a Carson Macedo. Now, we got to think about other cars that are just as fast as the 41 car. And honestly, I don't think you can compare the drivers here, but you could compare the cars. And I think in my only stretch here is illusion, because I don't think you can replace Carson Macedo. I think it's a great race car driver. And you definitely can't replace that 41 car. So, I think the only respectable pick to trade Carson Macedo off on would be the car of the 71 Indy Race Parts car, Carson Macedo, for Corey Eliason. And I'm not really saying, Eliason, you're any better, but your car that you got there is pretty damn special, bud. Pretty damn special. Just like the 41 with Carson Macedo. That's probably the hardest trade we've had to make here. We could mix in, Justin Peck. I mean, I almost feel like I need to say Carson Macedo for Corey Eliason, Justin Peck, and the 360 guys of Hahn and Haferteet. That's how. We gotta stack 4 cars up against just the 41 car because that vehicle's so damn good. So we got the 41 and Carson Macedo being replaced by Corey Eliason, Justin Peck, Blake Hahn, and Sam Haferteet Jr. That's the only way to replace that damn 41 machine. I'll tell you what. And then we move on to our final 3 drivers here. Brock Zierfoss. Now, Brock Zierfoss is from a very famous region. He's done some amazing things in the small car ranks of PA. Been on the road, but has he been super impressive? Has he? I mean, the crew and the team and some great guys do the hardest they can. But in the results column, obviously I was at Cedar Lake when he won, but it's been a struggle. It's been a struggle. So we have to look onto this list and see, do we have anyone else who has branched out of the PA area a few times, had success in Pennsylvania, but hasn't really had the results nationally that we could want? And I think we would replace Brock Zerfoss with Anthony Macri. Now, some people would argue and say that's just as much of a BS trade as Carson Macedo for Corey Eliason or something like that, or Giovanni Selzi for Justin Sanders. And some people would say Anthony Macri would be, 5 spots better every single night than Brock Zerfoss if he was on the road all the time. I mean, Anthony Macri's a superstar. But that Outlaw Tour is just a little bit different. And maybe I need to make up for my Carson Macedo, Corey Elias, and Justin Peck trade. So, a little tip for tat here. Brock Zerfoss trading him out for Anthony Macri. Now, we're down to 2 racers. Bill Rose and Brad Sweet. The hammer and the nail. And 100% of the time, one of these guys is definitely the hammer and the other guy is definitely the nail. We'll just get Bill Rose out of the way right now and say, Bill Rose, we'll trade you out for, what's this Connor guy's name? I don't even know this Connor Morrell. But now Brad Sweet. This is the hot dog. This is the man. This is the multiple-time champion. This is the creator, co-creator with Kyle Larson of the High Limit Series. He's not a committed driver. I'm assuming we'll see some of these drivers out here, but we're just doing roster for roster right now. And Brad Sweet's obviously done a damn good job of building a roster. And honestly, ladies and gentlemen, there's only one guy on this list that you could say, Brad Sweet, for this guy, the consistency, the wins, the marquee events. He hasn't been on the road as much. It's hard to, contest resumes here, but eye tests and ability to go anywhere and kick some ass. I can make an argument. Brad Sweet for one Brent A. Marks. Brent Marks, ladies and gentlemen. For Brad Sweet, I was saving him. For Brad Sweet, I can't believe I said it, but it is possible. I think there's some people out there that could say, well, if Brent Marks was in a Casey Kane ride for a long, long time and was on the road full time driving some of the best equipment cars with the best crews and everything that is provided to Brad Sweet, potential is real. So there you have it. The roster of the World of Outlaws in comparison to the roster of the High Limit Sprint Car Series. And I think we got a list here that you could make a contestable choice. I mean, we have a very strong case on who has the greatest roster on dirt. This list here that the High Limit Series has jumbled up, and we already know that there's 4 races that those Outlaw guys can show up to. Obviously, these guys can show up to the Outlaw races whenever they want. Nobody's got the leash on their throat. I have a feeling that with this amount of committed drivers, that the High Limit Sprint Car Series has the greatest roster on dirt. I just think that you could make an argument to say that they do. If we were talking AFC, NSC, this would be the stronger conference. I think it would be top to bottom. It would be the stronger conference. We didn't even get to Chase Randalls, who has potential. Paulie Giovanni got pulled off the board. Alex Bowman still on the board. Riley Goodenow. These are some good racers out here that are on this list here. Dylan Westbrook, Dusty Zomer. These are some good drivers. But this is going to be very intriguing. This is very interesting. I like our list that we got here today. And you tell me, what do you think? Tip for tat. This High Limit roster is very, very impressive. It really, really is. What do y'all think of the trades, the picks that I made that you could tip for tat here from one roster, one conference to the other? The High Limit Series is bringing the heat. They're going to amazing racetracks. I cannot wait for Eagle Raceway's event. Like the video, ladies and gentlemen. Comment below. What do you think of my stupid picks, my little trade outs that I did? I mean, pretty close ones there. And as always, be sure to subscribe, Got some other videos that you'll see at the end of this one. Be sure to check that out. LongLiveTheChaz.com. Get your hat, get you everything that you need. Thanks for tuning in. It was a little bit of a long video, but I enjoyed it. Hopefully you did as well. And we will catch you next time.
This is how we ride. This is how we do.